Let me ask you something. When someone says, I have a mortgage, what do they actually mean? Most people think that mortgage is the loan itself, but technically that is not accurate. When someone buys a property using financing, they sign two separate legal documents. And if you're learning about mortgage note investing, understanding the difference between those two is absolutely foundational. If you don't understand this clearly, everything else in the note investing space can feel confusing at some later stage. So in this video, I want to walk you through it in a simple conversational way. We're going to talk about what is a promissory note and what is a mortgage, why they're separate and why that separation really matters. Let's start with the big picture. Every secured real estate loan has two components. First, there's the financial obligation. And second, there's the security instrument. The financial obligation is the borrower's promise to repay money. The security instrument ties that promise to a specific piece of property. If I lend you money and you promise to pay me back, that creates a debt. If you also agree that I can take your property if you don't repay me, now that debt is secured. Mortgage note investing is built on secured debt. And that security comes from the relationship between the promissory note and the mortgage. So let's define the promissory note first. A promissory note is the borrower's written promise to repay a loan. It is the legal evidence that the debt exists. It outlines the exact terms of repayment. Inside the promissory note, you'll typically find the loan amount, the interest rate, whether the rate is fixed or adjustable, the length of the loan, the monthly payment amount, the payment schedule, late fees, and what happens if the borrower defaults. The promissory note answers one main question. What exactly did the borrower agree to pay? It's purely about the money and the repayment terms. Now this is important. The promissory note is considered a negotiable instrument. That means it can be transferred or sold. When investors say they are buying mortgage notes, what they're actually really buying is the right to receive payments under that promissory note. The income stream that comes from the note. If you own the note, you own the debt. You own the right to collect those payments according to the terms that were agreed upon. Without the promissory note, there is no enforceable promise to pay. Courts don't enforce a mortgage by itself without a valid underlying debt. The note is what proves that the debt exists. Now let's talk about the mortgage. The mortgage does not create the debt. The promissory note does that. The mortgage secures the debt with a property. In simple terms, the mortgage says that this property is collateral for the loan described in the promissory note. The mortgage is recorded in the public record. That recording creates a lien against the property. A lien is a legal claim. It establishes the lender's interest in that property until the debt is paid off. If the borrower stops making payments, the lender relies on the mortgage to enforce their rights. That enforcement process is a foreclosure in the worst case scenario. So if you think about it this way, the promissory note is the promise. The mortgage is the protection. The note deals with the personal obligation. The mortgage deals with the property rights. In some states, you'll hear the term deed of trust instead of mortgage. The structure is slightly different, but the function is the same. It secures the loan with real estate and provides a path for foreclosure if necessary. Now you might wonder, why are these two documents separate? Why not just combine everything into one? And the reason is legal structure. The promissory note is governed by contract and commercial law. The mortgage is governed by real estate and property law. They operate in related but distinct legal frameworks. Keeping them separate allows the debt to be transferred without rewriting property records every time the loan is sold. When a note is sold to another investor, the promissory note is endorsed or assigned. The mortgage follows that note. There's a long-standing legal principle that says the mortgage follows the note. That means whoever owns the note has the beneficial interest in the mortgage. This separation is actually what makes the secondary mortgage market possible. It allows loans to be bought and sold as investments. Without this structure, mortgage note investing as we know it wouldn't really function the same. Now, let's connect this directly to mortgage note investing. When you purchase a mortgage note, you are stepping into the lender's position. You are acquiring the right to receive payments under the promissory note. You are also acquiring the secured interest in the property through that mortgage. You want both documents properly executed. You want both properly assigned, and you want them legally connected. If the borrower performs and makes payments on time, your investment behaves like an income-producing asset. You receive payments according to the terms of the note. If the borrower stops paying, the mortgage gives you that legal recourse. It gives you the right to initiate foreclosure and potentially recover the property. That's the key distinction between secured and unsecured debt. Credit card debt, for example, is unsecured. There's no specific property tied to it. A mortgage note is secured by real estate. That security is what provides a layer of protection and risk mitigation when structured properly. But that protection only exists if both documents are valid and enforceable. This is why due diligence is so important to mortgage notes. Investors need to verify that the original promissory note exists, that it was properly executed, and that the mortgage was properly recorded, and that the chain of assignment is clear and all connected. Your investment strength depends on the integrity of these documents. So let's walk through a simple example. A borrower purchases a home for $250,000. They borrow $200,000 from a lender. They sign a promissory note agreeing to repay that $200,000 plus interest, let's say over 30 years. They also sign a mortgage securing that loan with the property. The lender now holds the debt and the security interest. If that lender later sells the loan to an investor, the investor now holds the right to collect the payments and the right to enforce the mortgage if necessary. That is the basic structure of mortgage note investing. It starts with understanding that the promissory note is the borrower's promise to repay, and the mortgage secures the promise with real property. One creates the financial obligation, the other one protects it. If you truly understand this distinction, you strengthen your foundation in mortgage note investing. And in this educational series, we're going to continue building on that foundation step by step so you can understand how this asset class really works from the ground up. If you'd like to learn more about mortgage note investing, explore additional educational resources, and see how this strategy works in practice, also visit us at ritzelnotes.com. And if you're following us along on this playlist, make sure you continue to the next lesson where we'll build on this foundation and go even deeper into how mortgage notes function as an investment. I'll see you in the next video.